Good afternoon and welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. This time of the year is always, I think, a little bit challenging in the sense that, we've just been through the holidays and some people are back at work and other people are not back at work yet. But the one thing I think every single one of us are focusing on is what's going to happen in 2023. The last few years for small business owners have been very, very challenging. Do I think 2023 is going to be easier? Nope, I don't think it's going to be any easier, but I do see some light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's really the key that as we get through this year and the beginning of next year, I think is going to be lots of opportunities for small business. So this session is a mastermind today. So basically the idea here is to answer some of your questions that you may have that you're struggling with as a small business owner. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat little bubble. If you've got any questions, if you want to make any comments or anything like that, feel free to post it in the chat and I'll try and address some of the questions. But what I did do is over the holiday period from the beginning, in the middle of December till now, I was away quite a lot, but always spending time with business owners. And we were talking about some of our goals for the new year and what direction our businesses want to go in and things like that, which is always interesting and I think very, very important. That every single one of us start off our year with some really clear goals that we want to achieve. Will you achieve all of them? Probably not. I know I was going through my list this week of goals that I set for 2022, and I would say that I probably achieved 70 to 80% of my goals. So I didn't achieve all of my goals. Do I expect to achieve all of my goals in 2023? No, I don't. But it doesn't matter. I think what happens is when we set goals, when we're specific about what outcomes we want in our business and in our life, I think it gives us a bit of direction, it gives us a bit of focus. And I think every new year, it gives you an opportunity to restart again. And maybe not change your business model or change the direction you're going in, but to almost rethink the direction your business is going in. And it's amazing what that date, the 1st of January, does to many people is that it forces us to think about what's going to happen. What's going to change, what's going to happen, what's going to be different in the new year. And it's quite exciting to think about those things. But on the other hand, I find that things often start a little bit slower. And I don't know if it's only in the Northern Hemisphere, but things start a bit slower than my expectations. But what I did do, because I like to run these as Q&A sessions, what I did do is I spoke to a bunch of really successful business owners. And it was really inspiring, actually. I spent a lot of my time over the holidays with some really motivated, inspired people. And it was really inspiring to see these people, what have they done over the last, I've known them for many years, but what they've achieved. And then what I decided to do is I asked them, I said, what should we be thinking of? What should we be doing for the new year? And what I'm going to share with you is some of the answers that they gave us. And then as we go along, I'm going to answer some of your questions. I can see some of you posting questions already, which is wonderful. Feel free to do that and post your questions in the chat. Anyway, so let me just tell you what they said. And as we go along, as you got questions, just post them in the chat and I'll deal directly with your questions. But these are the things that they said, which I found very, very interesting. Because if anybody was at the last session, where we ran a webinar specifically speaking about the new year, you'll know that I speak quite regularly about defining your target market. And I think now's a perfect time to do that, to relook at your business and say to yourself, what customers do we want to go after in 2023? And when you identify that, it gives your business a bit of direction. And that is exactly what you want. You want to decide who are these people, who are the new leads you're going to generate, or if it's existing customers, which existing customers you're going to target. So the idea here of identifying or defining your target market is to identify your ideal customer. And I want you to think about it like this, is if you were given the option to only choose one group of customers to sell to in 2023. Okay, so if you're given the option to only sell to one group of customers, one demographic, one psychographic, whatever, what the fancy words we use in marketing. But if you're allowed to only sell to one group, who would these people be? And this decision of yours is going to be influenced by a bunch of things. The first thing it's going to be influenced is by what the customer's needs are. So trying to understand, going forward in 2023, what your customer's needs are is going to influence who your target market is. So for some of us, we're going to keep selling to the same people, but for others, we may change a little bit, or we may identify a new target market that we'd like to go after. And this is exactly what I want you to think about. I want you to be very, very clear on whether you're going to keep doing the same thing that you were doing, or are you going to change? And the changes might not be that drastic. I, for example, in December, went and visited a business owner that I've known for many years. And in the early days of his startup, I was around and saw some of these stresses that he went through and things like that. And now it's very, very successful and doing massive revenue over the last 5 years, tripled his revenue. And I was having a discussion with him, and he said, these are our new special projects that we are working on. And he said, these special projects, we're going to sell to our same customers, but the profit margins are much higher. So there's an example, going through your database of clients and identifying who are these people that you're going to target to sell these high profit margin products that you're going to be creating. So again, is to try and work out very, very clearly who the customers are, understand what their needs are, their preferences, their buying habits, all of those things. So it requires a bit of thinking, maybe sitting around a boardroom table with some of your employees, or doing a bit of research on your analytics, in your Google Analytics, or analyzing invoices or buying habits or all those type of things, and really understanding what's going on. I'll give you a very simple example. One of the things that I've noticed, this massive trend over the last 5 years, is more and more people, ordering in. So a lot of these restaurants and fast food places, this seems to be a brand new revenue source for them. So one of the challenges is, one of the positives is it's a great new revenue source. One of the negatives is that it often eats at their margins. So they've got to decide, for example, the direction they're going in. Is this going to influence the direction? Is this a market they're going to go after? And if the answer is yes, what changes do they need to make? They maybe, for example, need to change their menu to suit the new demographic, the new changes, the new customers that are coming in. So understanding your target market or identifying very, very clearly who your target market is really help. And then once you identify your target market, the next thing you want to be doing is tailor-make your marketing efforts to increase the chances of you getting these people. And that's exactly what you want to do, is you want to identify your target market And then you want to make sure that your marketing goes after these people. And this is really, really important, because you've got to understand that marketing becomes far more effective. Marketing becomes far more effective when you know who your target market is. And I think some of the challenges we have as business owners, we're not always clear on that. We're not always clear who our target market is. We tend to say things like, everybody needs our product or service, or, our customers have basically come from a large, range of sectors and things. And when people say that to me, I realize that they don't always know, or haven't done research on their target market. And this is why they say things like it. So be very, very careful of being too vague. Instead of making assumptions, rather do the research, rather understand your customers' needs and identify them. So once you've identified your target market, the next thing you want to do is you want to create a marketing plan. And I think this is a really, really good idea. I mean, this is not new. This is not different. This is not something a lot of you maybe have done before. But I find what happens sometimes in seminars and webinars is we'll go and we'll listen to the presenter, and he or she will say, we need to do these things, and we listen, but we don't always do. And this is why I think it's very, very important that you and I make a decision about doing. These are the things that I'm going to do over the next 12 months to get more customers. And this involves planning, this involves writing, this involves all of those things. Because I want you to understand that when you start your year more organized, actually, I run a family mastermind group, which is basically family members, my nieces and nephews, basically. There's a bunch of them have started businesses, so maybe I haven't counted lately, maybe 15 nieces and nephews, and about 6 or 7 of them are entrepreneurs, which is a very high percentage. And I think even more of them are going to become more entrepreneurial. But one of the things that we do every year is we start off the year by them setting goals for the new year. And I think it's a really good exercise for you to do. When it comes to your marketing, you want to do exactly the same thing. You want to start off by writing down your marketing goals. And I think this is very, very important, because sometimes we're a little bit vague. We'll say things like, we want to increase our revenue, for example, or we want to get more visitors to our website, or we want to grow our social media. These are the type of things we'll say. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to be more specific. Say, for example, in 2023, we want to increase our revenue by 7% and do 107,000 instead of 100,000. That's more specific. Or when it comes to our website, is to get 1,000 visitors a month compared to what we're getting now is 800. So the more specific you are, the better it is for you. And I encourage you to do this. Get a pen and paper and just write these things down. One of my favorite business owners of all time is a guy called Richard Branson. Some of you maybe have heard about him or read about him or seen him on TV, but I was watching this documentary the other day about him. And it's really interesting of how this guy has always used a pen and paper of a way of setting goals, of strategizing, of planning and things like that. And as I was watching this documentary on him, and I thought to myself, how important is that to always be writing things down? Instead of just being vague, which is very, very often how most of us are, including myself, is being very, very specific, getting a pen and paper out and writing down specifically what we're going to be doing. Setting budgets, for example, how much time, allocating time every week to do marketing. That's one of the things that I'm doing now, is spending more time, for example, on LinkedIn and things like that. But again, my business is at a different stage. I think, compared to maybe some of you, we're at that mature stage. We've been in business this year for 20 years, this business. So we've been around a long time. A lot of the business that we get comes to us and things like that. But the point is that we never stop marketing. We don't get to a stage where we say, you know what, this is enough. So the idea here of setting a budget is doing two things. One, allocating time that you're going to be spending on marketing. And secondly, allocating budget, money that you're going to be spending on marketing. And I think what's changed in 2023, compared to the last 3 years, is that now we're going to be doing more networking. We're going to be going to more events and things like it. I know I went to a few events last year and really enjoyed it. And again, I'm looking forward to interacting with more people this year. And again, I think that's going to be a big trend, especially towards the end of, or let's say once the winter's over, from the spring onwards. I think that's going to be a big trend. More and more businesses connecting, interacting, going out for lunch, going out for coffee, and really connecting with people. And then developing strategies to achieve your marketing goals. And I think here's the key, saying you want to increase your revenue by 7% to 8 to 10 or whatever it is, but being specific about how you're going to do it is very, very important. And I find that, creating plans, whether it's business plans or marketing plans or financial plans, or creating cash flow forecasts, or whatever it is for your business, this helps focus you and then allocate your resources. And I think this is the key to building a successful business, is identifying these things. The other thing you want to do, which I think is really, really important, just at the beginning of COVID, in I get my years mixed up now, but in 2020, early 2020, and then in 2021, there was this massive push to get small businesses online. And I'm sure a lot of you, got your businesses online. A lot of us did much more revenue. I know in our case, all of our revenue in 2020 and 2021, and even the beginning of 2022, was all online stuff. But I think what happens is, as the offline stuff starts opening up, we start maybe neglecting our online presence a little bit. And here's what I believe is that, it's going to be expected of every single small business now and going forward, is that we've got a website. We've got a website where the customer can either come into our store or phone our business or visit our website and get that same experience. And I think it's very, very important that we understand this, that almost our website is becoming almost like our business card. Years ago, or even 5-7 years ago, you'd go to an event, you'd give somebody your business card, and they would make a decision about a bunch of things. We judge people based on their business cards and things like that. And I find that nowadays, when you go to events, hardly anybody has business cards, which is really interesting. But you're almost expected to go to somebody's online presence. People say, well, why don't you check me out on LinkedIn, or, let's connect online, or whatever it is. And I think it's becoming really, really important. And the big advantage we have in Ontario is we've got the My Main Street program, which is really, really good. And all of you should participate. And then you've got the Digital Main Street program, which is specifically related to your online presence. So I think it's a really good idea to commit in 2023 to improve your online presence. Because I know with us, because we've been doing so much online work, I don't want to say we've neglected our website, but we haven't focused as much on it as we were doing before COVID hit, because a lot of our stuff, it just became online. And then there was just so much business going around that we didn't spend as much time on it. The other thing that I think is becoming really important, again, not that it lost any importance, is making sure that our social media becomes very, very active. And again, this is a strategic decision you make as a business owner to get online and spend more time online. Build relationships, communicate with people. And these are the type of things we need to be doing, and interacting with people online are the opportunities. And one of my favorite marketing tools of all time is email marketing. I still think that many, many times small business owners underestimate the value of email marketing. And if you're one of these people, I want you to relook at it in 2023 and realize that it is one of the best marketing tools available out there. It really is. And it's one of the safest almost marketing tools available out there, especially when it comes to online marketing. Because here's the thing we need to understand. If I have a big presence on Facebook, or if I have a big presence on LinkedIn or on TikTok or any of these platforms, I do not own that database. And we learned this early on with Facebook. If anybody remembers, in the early days of Facebook, if you had a group, it just kept growing because people were applying, to join your group and things like that. And I remember in the case of BizLaunch, we had quite a few groups that were very, very active, and they were really easy to get members on. And we used to use it to market our webinars and our seminars and all that type of stuff. And then basically Facebook got to a stage where they decided to monetize, which is what most of these platforms decide to do eventually, is to monetize their content. And then all of a sudden, that part of our business died, or that part of our marketing died. The groups on social really died. But the point here is that never happens to email. If you've got a database of 100 emails or 200 emails or 500 emails of your existing customers, the advantage you've got, that belongs to you. You got to keep it updated, you got to grow it, you got to do all those things, but that belongs to you. So that's the first thing. The second thing I like about email marketing is that the customer's given you permission to market to you. And I think that is the key, an old term, permission marketing, but I think a really, really important one out there. So I'm going to go back to Ellis's question before you think I've forgotten about it, is I sell pre-recorded courses for dietitians and nutrition experts, teaching content creation skills for social media. I find sales unpredictable and slow. So, I think that, the unpredictability of sales is a very, very common thing, especially in the early stages of a business. Once you've been established, it makes it easier. The best results I require a lot of my time, such as scheduling live and virtual events. I'm wondering if you have some ideas to improve your sales growth for online pre-recorded courses in general. I think there are two key strategies for online courses. Firstly, I want you to understand, and it's a really important thing, is that selling online courses is very, very difficult. Doesn't matter that people need it. Doesn't matter that your courses are the best in the world, all that type of stuff. It is still a very, very challenging thing. So I think there are two key things you can do to sell courses. The one is, you say you've been running online events. I don't think you can ever get away from that, because I think what happens with most courses is anybody can create a course. That's the first thing. But to get a bit of credibility is I almost have to try out your program before I can buy. So there are two options here for you. One is you can either run these live events on an ongoing basis and then draw people to your online courses, or you can give people an option, maybe to watch the first module or the first two modules, whatever it is, I don't know how long your course is, to try it out, and then they buy. So that's the one option. The other option, I think, well, you can do these both at the same time, is to use email marketing. There's no doubt in my mind that if you're selling courses, and that's my business, but if you're selling courses, your email marketing is the most important thing. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, it's got to be consistent. What happens often, and I had a very good example recently, a business owner that I know really well. I was helping them in their business, and I was sending out emails every week. And then one day he came to me and he said to me, I'm sure people are getting very tired of these emails every week. And I said, the customer doesn't get tired of getting emails every week as long as they're valuable content. When they're not valuable, then they get tired. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I learned this very, very important lesson when I was a retailer years ago. I remember sitting on this panel of advertising and marketing people, and me saying to the ad agency, you know what, I'm really bored of our adverts that we have on radio, TV, whatever it was at the time. And he said, you know what, it's not about you, it's about the customer. You're bored because you hear the ad every single day. Your customers, they've got so much going on, they don't always notice your business. And I think that's the way you got to think about it, because I think some of us are so sensitive about sending out emails when it's one of the best ways to market our businesses. So if you're going to be advertising courses, I think you have to let people try before they buy, would be one of my strategies. And the second one is to use email marketing consistently. JD says here that if anyone dismisses our valuable email marketing, is look at the scammers and spammers. Exactly. That's a $41 billion market. You're so right. If it wasn't working, the scammers would have stopped a long time ago. The other thing you want to do, which I think is very, very important, is learn to re-engage with your customers. I think what's happened, and I think I get this feeling too, is that, and again, sometimes it's a bit of a personality thing. I prefer to communicate via email and things like that. But here's the reality, is that people are almost hungry for relationships. People are almost hungry for connection. And I want you to understand this as a business owner, and especially as a small business owner, because this is one of our competitive advantages, is we can build relationships with our customers. I was reading a great story on LinkedIn this week about somebody that sells their product through Sobeys, one of these supermarket groups. And he was saying that, he on LinkedIn, spoke about this manager. And he says, I have a product, which is, he's a small business. He has a product that usually sells really well when they do in-store demos inside supermarkets. And he went to this manager, and when he met the manager, the manager said, well, let me just show you where you can do your display. And the manager came out of his office and then walked down with the supplier through the store. But as he was walking through the store, this manager was walking through the store, he was greeting all customers by their first name. He was interacting with them and things like that. And this small business owner was saying, what a brilliant attitude, what a brilliant approach, what a nice way of doing things. And I want you to understand that for small business, this is one of our competitive advantages. The relationships we have with our customers, the relationships we have with human beings is what's made us very, very often successful small businesses, or at least achieved some form of success. And you've got to understand the importance of this, because people have been starved of interaction and engagement for the last 3 years. Now's the opportunity to open up that channel again, to re-communicate with your customers, invite them into your business, connect with them on a regular basis. Because your relationship, and this is what I want you to understand, is that often people buy from small businesses because of the relationship, not because of the prices or because of the range. They can always get that better somewhere else. But that relationship that you have with the owner is an important thing. And it's simple things. like, responding to customer inquiries. I, for example, went online yesterday or 5 days ago, maybe on the 31st. How long ago is that? Lost a bit of time during the holidays, but I went and bought a pair of shoes online. And then I was wondering, why were these people not communicating with me? So, and a couple of things went through my mind. The one was, maybe this was a scam, which is maybe not a good default to go to, but that's the way I was thinking of it. And then eventually the company messaged me and said they didn't have the product. But the point was that they never responded to my request promptly. And this is something you've got to be very, very careful of, is that, over the last 3 years, we've had excuses. We've had a shortage of staff. There's been chaos going on. And maybe, our response to our customers hasn't been as good as it should be. What you want to do now is you want to get back to those, what it was like before COVID, and maybe set yourself guidelines. We have to respond to a customer's request within 3 hours or whatever it is. The second thing you want to do is you want to provide excellent customer service. And I had a very, very interesting trip in December. I went to South Africa and I was in Cape Town, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Every single time I go back, I am shocked at the beauty of this beautiful city. Really one of the most beautiful cities. So if you ever get the opportunity to go on a tour, always go with the tour group. It's not the safest place in the world, but Cape Town is really, really stunning. And here's the thing that I found is that the service was just so friendly, and you can't fake it. And I want you to understand this, is that I was shocked every single time. I'd go and buy a cup of coffee, or I'd go into a hotel or whatever it is, and the service was just so friendly. And I thought to myself, that is something that we're missing in North America, is maybe we give good service, but, where it comes from the heart, where people are doing things that they love. And this is something that I found in South Africa that really, really impressed me. And I want you to understand, and here's the interesting thing. The service levels, I don't think, are as good as North America many times. Depends on what you were buying and things like that. But it was just so friendly. And I think when the service is so friendly, what happens is that, people can make a few mistakes. So that's what I felt. I went into restaurants, for example, and maybe my food didn't come out as quickly as I expected in North America. But when it did come, it came with this warmth and this friendliness. And I want you to understand that if you have employees in your business that are like this, that are friendly, that, that are caring, that are all like that, you want to replicate that model. And if you're not that type of person, you need to become that type of person. You need to become friendly. You need to spend time with customers. You need to speak to your customers. You need to ask them for information, because I think it's so important going forward that we engage with our customers. And I find that this really impressed me. I mean, this is one of the things that I look for wherever I go anywhere in the world. I'm looking for unique, actually, very interestingly enough, if any of you ever get the opportunity to visit South Africa, if you're in retail there is absolutely brilliant. And I think it's because it's so competitive. I find retail very, very good there. Not always, obviously, but there's a lot of very good examples. Retail is not boring there. So those are two things that really impressed me. I mean, I knew about it already. I have visited South Africa many times over the years and actually was born there. But I was really impressed with the friendliness of the service. And I was really impressed with the retail. Retail was really good. And maybe it's because it's Africa, the colors are dynamic and things like that. But I was really impressed with that. And I think this is a big opportunity for us in 2023 for us to, almost go over the top when it comes to customer service. There are two reasons for that. One, I think customers are pining for that, firstly. And secondly, if we're going into a recession, and I don't know when this recession is coming, because I don't know if anybody was listening today, but they just announced the labor figures for December, and the amount of jobs went up by a massive margin. So I don't know when this recession is coming, but everybody's speaking about it. During recessions, I think customers become more needy. I think customers become more, they want more, and sometimes you can't discount. But what you can do is improve the customer experience. I think that is really the key, is you want to improve this customer experience. You almost want to surprise your customers when they come into the store. And again, this is something that I saw again, or was reminded of again, when I was in South Africa. It doesn't matter where I was. If I was buying a cup of coffee or going into a hotel or whatever, it was just the friendliness of these people that are being paid a minimum wage, but really care about giving great friendly service. I know great is the word. I mean, the service was not bad at all, but it was very, very friendly. I found that people went out of their way to make you feel comfortable. And that would really, really impress me, I must be honest, because I think what happens in North America sometimes, our service could be good, but it's too clinical, it's not from the heart and things like that. So understand that that could be something that you could work on in 2023. The other thing you can do, to grow your business in 2023 is expand your product or service offerings. And again, you've got to be very, very careful here. You don't want to have too many products or too many services. I think every business every year has to go through this exercise and decide what products they're going to continue and what products they're going to discontinue. But I think the type of products you want to introduce are ideally things that are driven by your customer needs, ideally. And secondly, you want to try and identify products or services that are profitable. And I think that's really the key. And for those of us that have been in business for a while, some of you maybe 5 years, 10 years, maybe 20 years, what you want to try and do is you want to improve your profit margins. And maybe 2023 could be that year that instead of reducing prices, you try and identify products or services that can improve your profit margins. So that example I gave you earlier on, the business that I went and visited in December, they're in the dried fruit nut business. They've decided because they think that margins are going to be tight in 2023. They've decided to introduce new high profit margin products, and that's the way you want to be thinking as a business owner. Actually, I was reading earlier on today about Tesla. One of the things that make Tesla so successful are their profit margins. They make 16% profit on a car, and one of their objectives or one of their goals for 2023 is to increase their profit margins. So you understand that even these big, massive businesses are trying to do that. So here's a comment by JD. There's a difference between a technical recession and a practical recession. We are likely to have a technical recession, but that doesn't mean it will hit marketplaces. One of the things that I've learned as a business owner is predicting the future is really, really hard. So I don't know what 2023 is going to do. I remember, for example, when the property market collapsed in 2008, it was really interesting because there were so many, 2008, 2009, there were so many economists, that didn't see this coming. And, that still shocks me, that they all, in hindsight, discuss what should have happened and could have happened. So I don't know, JD, if we're going into an actual or a technical recession. But one thing I do know, as somebody that purchases products on a daily basis is that inflation has been really, really bad, especially over the last year on food and clothing and all that type of thing. So that's the first thing I know. The second thing I know is that the interest rates have gone up so high. I mean, I was reading this morning that mortgage rates in the US are now 6-point-something% long-term mortgage rates. That is very, very high, because we haven't had that for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, maybe even 20 years. That is very, very high. I think that even if there isn't a recession, let's say there isn't, it's going to have an impact on small business. Because for a lot of people, this is what's happened. For a lot of people, your mortgage payment has gone up. You know, your mortgage payment has gone up. For some people, it's gone up to 63%. And that is a lot, you know. So even if I don't believe that we're going to have a recession in 2023, I think that because of, you know, the price of food going up so much, and because our mortgage repayments have gone up, we're going to have less money to spend. So basically, it's going to create a recession for small businesses, because we're going to have less money to spend in these small businesses. So whether we call it a recession or not doesn't matter. But the reality is that if you're working on your budget for 2023, you know that you're spending more money on food, definitely, and on your mortgage than previous years. Unless you can save money somewhere. I don't know where that saving is going to come from. I haven't seen. Cars seem to be stabilizing a little bit more now and things like that. But geez, the interest rates are really, really high in a very short amount of time. And the government has said they're not going to stop, which scares me. Anyway, I've got a couple of questions here. Any recommendations for some profitable complementary products for pre-recorded course? I was thinking of expanding to offer one-on-one coaching at a higher price point. I think one-on-one coaching is a good idea. But here's the thing, I think, with one-on-one coaching. Just make sure that you charge a premium for that and that you get the right customer. You almost want to choose the right customer. I know I do a bit of coaching, not too much, but I do a bit of it. And you realize that often coaching is not about the price, it's about the person. Are they ready to be coached? I know I fired 2 customers in December, coaching customers, just because I felt that they, and again, this is a personal thing, I felt they were not showing up. I felt that they were not contributing. And that's what you got to be careful of, Ellis. So understand that, I mean, if they pay, who cares? Could be your attitude. I don't like that attitude in business. If somebody's paying me $100, I want to give them $100 of value. That's the way I think. So good idea, Ellis, but just be careful. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name properly. Someone once said that the major barrier to skill acquisition is not intellectual, it's emotional. What advice can you give to those who are by themselves, who tried having a partner but failed? I had a good run at but shut their business because of inflation and cost of good increasing for this year. You know, here's the thing that I've learned as a business owner. You know, look, running a business is not easy. I'm not here to say that running a business is easy. And I think with anything, you know, even partnerships. I mean, some of the most successful businesses I've worked with over the last 30 years, 25 years that I've been teaching, are partnerships. So one of the things you've got to learn is that, you know what, failure is part of building a successful business. You know, if I think of, you know, my life as a business owner over the last 30 years, I'm not a big risk taker. Just so, you know, people always assume that because we're entrepreneurs, we take big risks. I'm not a big risk taker. And I realized, actually, when I reflect on, when I think back, you know, there are people that take risks and become very, very successful. There are people that take risks that fail. So I want you to understand that. But if you ran a business in 2022 that didn't work out, whatever it is, don't become despondent. You know, or if you've run a business with a partner and it didn't go well, don't become despondent. not everybody is a bad partner. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, failure is part of the road that entrepreneurs go on. I mean, I can think of how many different products that I've launched over the years. I mean, I had a very simple example. So part of my business is I run this business. I own own some real estate. And the other thing is I invest in stocks. And I don't know if you know, but Elon Musk lost $200 billion last year. The smart guy that wants to go to Mars, even he lost $200 billion last year. So the point I'm trying to make is, don't be too hard on yourself if you had a partner and it didn't work out. Don't be too hard on yourself if you're trying to run a business that didn't work last year, the year before. The last 3 or 4 years have been really, really tough. Will it get easier? This is my thoughts about 2023. If you can start a business now during these chaotic times, because we don't know. I mean, we were debating whether it's a recession or not a recession. It doesn't matter. Things are tough. Things are tough. We've got a war in Europe. We've got a bunch of things that are going on that some of us are struggling with. Some of the most successful businesses have been started during recessions. So whether we're in a recession or not, the truth is, I think now's a good time to start a business. So past failures are part of the learning, I want you to understand that. And going forward, you can do it again. That's the most important thing, even with partners. I know I've in business had partners and then bought them out and things like that. And does it make me a little bit wary of partners? Absolutely. But I don't give up on not having partners. I still think partners are a great way to grow your business. But again, the key here is to find the right partner. That is the difficult part. It's not about finding a partner. It's about finding the right partner. I think that's the challenge. So what else should we be doing? So one of the biggest challenges we're facing in North America at the moment, and you see it in a lot of businesses. I swear I was traveling last year in June in California. And I mean, I always travel. Every month I tend to go on a trip. This year I'm going to try and only travel 6 times overseas. But last year I think it was about 8 times I was overseas. And I find that one of the biggest challenges you see with small business is the lack of employees. But here's the thing sometimes. I think sometimes it's not that we don't have enough employees. It's that our employees are not trained properly. And this is something that I think is really, really important for small businesses going forward. You've got to understand that if you want people to be more productive, you've got to train them. That's what you've got to do. So you've got to spend time educating and training them. And there's a couple of reasons you want to do this. One, because it motivates them. They become better employees. And I know some of you are going to say, well, you know what? Maybe they'll leave if I train them. And there was this old Richard Branson saying, what's worse is maybe they'll stay. And this is what you've got to be very careful of. If you've got people that are not well trained, that are not productive, you have a problem. And I see this many times in businesses that just with a few tweaks, just training the employees more effectively and things like that. So spend time educating yourself, spend time training. This is really, really important. For those of you that are selling training courses and programs, emphasize the importance of ongoing training. I mean, it's hard to sell training, especially when you're going through a recession or small businesses have less money to spend or your customers have less money to spend. But the benefits are really, really simple. The more inspired you are, the more motivated you are, the more educated you are, the better it is for you and the better it is for your work. But think of yourself. If you're a one-person business, think of even, training up yourself to become more productive. I find that, some of the things that I've learned, especially because the nature of my business, is that when I'm productive, I can do more in an hour than most people do in 8 hours. When I'm productive, which is the key thing here. So one of my objectives is to learn to become more productive. that's really what I want to do, is to learn to become more productive. What things can I do to make me more productive? Because nothing frustrates me more when I see business owners not put in systems or processes or things, and you can just see, what's creating their problems is not the business, but it's the not being productive. And this is a very, very common thing among small businesses, where we just don't train our people enough, or don't train ourselves enough. Little things like, if you use QuickBooks for your business, and if it's taking you hours and hours to do it, maybe one of your objectives in 2023 is to learn how to use QuickBooks better, or learn how to use Excel better, or whatever it is. These are the type of things you want to do, because it can be really frustrating when you're trying to do something really simple and it's taking you hours. So sometimes just learning how to become more efficient is the key, and for you and your employees. The other thing I think is a big, big opportunity, and I mean, it goes into one of the questions somebody asked about partnerships, but I think these are big, big opportunities, actually, is to collaborate with other small businesses. Maybe 2023 is the year that you buy out your competitors. I was speaking to, again, the same business owner that's become mega successful that I met with in South Africa, and that's one of their strategies to expand. Actually, I've got two examples there. I've got my brother that during COVID bought out his biggest competitor, and I was speaking to this business in South Africa, same thing. They bought out their competitor, and it almost like doubled their revenue in a very short period of time. And it's really interesting that because these businesses that they bought were struggling, all it really involved was a portion of the cash flow went towards this. So I don't want to say they paid nothing for these businesses, but they paid nothing for these businesses, because the businesses that they bought are paying back the purchase price themselves, than them taking money out of their cash flow. So I want you to understand that this is a very, very big opportunity for all small business owners going forward, is to try and identify other businesses that you can maybe partner with. They sell to your database, you sell to their database, or just buy your competitors out. This is a big, big opportunity. And what happens is, when you buy your competitors out, it gives you access to this database, it gives you access to new resources. And what happens is you can often reduce the overhead costs. So I was speaking to this business owner in South Africa, and they bought out one of their competitors, and they're going to save $6 million a year, because they're going to have one head office for both businesses. Sometimes it's simple little things, maybe too simplistic for some of you, but it's sometimes simple little things like that. The other thing I think, which is really, really important, that sometimes we don't do well enough of in small business, is really know what's going on. And this is one of my big concerns. I'm mentoring this one business owner, and I had a meeting with her yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and I said to her, how did you do last year? Oh no, it was really, really good, and things like that. And I said, do you have financials? She said, oh, no, we don't. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you know that it went really, really well if you don't have financials for this period of time? And just be very, very careful of that, because business owners will often say that. They'll look at, say it's December, they'll look at their business and say, no, we were very busy, without looking at numbers. One of the things you've got to learn to do, and this is very, very important, is measure things. There's that old saying, what you measure, you can manage. And I think this is such an important thing going forward, is that you get numbers. You get sales numbers, you get gross profit numbers, you get sales per customer numbers. You look at your analytics on your Google, you look at your analytics on your e-commerce store, so that you know what's going on in your business, because sometimes it's little tweaks, little things that we do. I was giving you the example of Tesla making a 16% net profit on their cars. The average for the industry is like 5%, 6%. The average for businesses across North America is 10%. So Tesla is making 60% more than the average. Do you understand? But it's because they measure every single thing. And I don't know why I'm discussing Tesla so much today, but the point is that as a small business owner, we've got to be measuring things. We need to have access to information. We need to know, maybe by the end of this month, earlier if possible, how much revenue did we generate in 2022? What was our sales? What was our gross profit? What were our expenses? Just so we can analyze things and make changes as quickly as possible. And these are the type of things we need to be doing. Let's see what else I learned from these business owners. I mentioned this early on, but it's worth mentioning again. Network, go back to networking, go back to trade shows, go back to conferences. I went to a conference in November last year in Lisbon, and it was just so inspiring and motivating to get back and interact with people. And I think these are the opportunities for small business. It's for us to re-engage, to hang out with small business owners again, all of these things, because I think the dynamic has changed in the sense that because a lot of people are working from home, there's not so many opportunities. The other thing you want to do, and we mentioned this when we discussed the webinar, is improve your business processes. This could improve your productivity a lot in 2023. So it's not so much about employing new people. It's not so much about making changes, but it's making sure that you become more efficient, that you do things better. And again, I had the same experience when I went and visit this business in South Africa that's doing so well. That's tripled their revenue over the last 5 years. I walked through their factory and you could eat off that floor. Everything just seemed to be working really, really well. And you can see what they did is the processes in their business they've worked on. And we're going to be running a webinar over the next few weeks. Actually, we're going to have a webinar every week from the end of January. So I encourage you to sign up for those webinars. These are my Main Street webinars. I encourage you to sign up for them because I'm almost going to re-educate everybody over the next 3 months on building a successful business. The other thing you may want to be doing is seek out new financing opportunities. And the earlier you start in the year is better. So start working on it now. Don't wait till the middle of July when, your business is not generating revenue and things like that. Start doing that. Maybe try and improve, for example, your cash flow. Maybe reduce your receivables. Maybe reduce your inventory or get better stock turns and things like that. These are some of the most important things. But here's my lesson, and most important lesson for 2023 is if we want to survive and thrive, is we've got to keep learning. I've been doing this for, I don't know, whatever. I don't even want to work out anymore, but educating business owners for 25 years. And here's the thing I want you to understand is we never know everything. Doesn't matter how many years I've been in business, doesn't matter how much success I've had, I've got to keep learning. That's the first thing. The second thing is giving up is not an option for me. This is the choice I've chosen. I've chosen to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship doesn't choose you. You choose entrepreneurship. And if you want to succeed, if you want to build a great business, if you want to build a great life and help other people around you, you've got to persevere. And I want you to understand that building a business is one of the most difficult things we do. And I want you to know that if you are struggling as a business owner, all of us struggle. But the other thing I want you to understand that is eventually when you do have some success in the long run, it is so, so rewarding. And to hang around with other people, like in my case, that have been on my programs for years and have gone to become successful, is nothing that makes me happier. And that is my wish for you for 2023. Is another question? What is my favorite conference to attend? That's a really good question, Bridget. And I don't have a good answer for you. The reason I don't have a good answer for you is some of my favorite conferences are not around anymore. So I'm going to have to re-educate myself again. So I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you, Bridget, but I like entrepreneurial conferences. There used to be one called the International Congress for Small Business, but they discontinued that. So I can't really say that there's a conference out there. But you know what? I've been to retail conferences. I went to the Web Summit in Lisbon last year. So if you can't find conferences, attending seminars, attending trade shows, attending things like that, or what I do, obviously I'm much older than all of you on this webinar, is I like doing look and learn trips. So I go to different parts of the world and just walk and just learn, go to different retail stores, read different books, go to different, for example, presenting seminars in Europe over the next few weeks. Those are the type of things I do. Actually, but I can't think of a conference off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that, Bridget. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully you learned a few things from me. And most importantly, sign up for these upcoming webinars, and I will educate you over the next 3 months. We're going to go through practical stuff, really important stuff, but I want you to succeed in 2023. That is my wish for every single one of you, that you build a business that you love, that is profitable, that people love working in. That is my wish for all of you, and have a happy new year. And I'll see you back at the end of the month, or about the 20 something. I can't even remember the date, but in a few weeks' time, we'll send you an email and sign up for the webinars. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great afternoon.